Hello, welcome to another tonalist landscape oil painting demonstration. This is your painter in residence, M. Francis McCarthy. And the painting I'm bringing you today is called Hidden Lake. It's 14 by 28 inches, and I finished this just this last week. And it's actually, I wanted to get it to you last week, but I've been reconfiguring my studio so that I could handle larger pieces easier. What was happening here in this is, let's face it, pretty big for the area I had set up, and which is a desk basically, and a table with a camera right behind it. And I have things at an angle, so it looks really good. I've been doing this for a long time. The problem with this though is that reach up into the corner, so you'll see the video shift because I have to move some things around in the front of my studio, and installed an easel there. And there are going to be some adjustments in quality. I'm just going to let you know now, but either way, you get to see things come together and you get to hear me burble on. I'm working on hardboard here, and the underpainting is burnt umber, and it's being thinned with some. Actually, in this case, one thing I've been experimenting with larger is the my typical oil, which is the Archival Oils brand Odorless Lean, but I have been adding spirits to it, mostly to get things to dry a little quicker on these underpainting layers. And another thing I've been using it for is for early color layers too, a bit more of the spirits in the mix. And it's been working real well, I have to say, because it really speeds up the drying. I've had a reservation about adding spirits for a while though, because it also weakens the paint film a bit. But I think if it's mostly for underneath work, certainly for underpainting, I think it's the way to go large. That's just where I'm at. Now, one thing I was on this painting kind of struggling with was I didn't want as much brown as I ended up with, and the reason for that is because of the hardboard color, which usually works out really well for me. At this larger size was giving me a lot of peek through, so the whole of this video would be like last minute or two, but of the entire painting session, which I don't know, 4 or 5 hours, something like that, was just plugging those little hardboard peeking through holes because they were distracting. And that's not usually the case, and that's kind of a size thing, I think. Anyway, I've got a couple strategies for that. The next big painting I'm going to be presenting here, which I think I have a little more work to do, but I think it's out of state. I'm going to go ahead and throw it up as a video so you can see what's up. Now I'm using more of a block-in technique, using large brushes. Now I don't really work with the block-in technique. I work with the underpainting, and when that's done and established, that tells me where all the composition is, the basic values, things like that. A little break in the audio there. I just noticed something I had to adjust in the video. We're getting it done. We're getting it done. Anyway, so I do my underpainting, and then I just basically just start actually painting. Usually with the sky, and then the darker bits of the landscape itself, and the trees and the hills and whatever. But when I set things down, it's usually pretty well set. A block-in is a different approach where you would just fill with large patches of color and then come in and refine. And I've worked that way in the past. I've taught that to students as an approach, but I haven't really used it for so long. I mean, what I do with the underpainting and then just going in and doing the painting works. So I've tried that, and I'm going to throw it up on the channel. You'll see it. This is exactly what I'm doing now. I did my underpainting, and then I'm just basically going in and doing the painting. I might add a bit here and there, but for what I'm interested in doing, I don't really want to make super detailed, hyper realistic scenes. I want to have a certain immediacy and expression in the brushwork that's not overt, you know. Anyway, the other strategy. Oh well, yeah, I'll tell you about that. We're gonna have an ad for the book coming up here, and I shipped a few more this week, and I'm so thrilled. Thank you for those of you that are getting it. And I've had so much positive feedback, people really enjoying it. And the great thing about books is that you can keep them and refer to them over and over again, unlike things on the internet which seem to just move around and shift and sometimes disappear completely. A book, you can have it open on your workstation as a reference and follow along. And now the book is $60 US, which includes international shipping from here down here in New Zealand, and I'll get it to you. All right, back to what we're talking about. Well, and before I get into it, I was going to talk about with the other approach with the toning the board. Help remind me. Um, you can see I had to chop out a bit because I had my big old back and now my head. This is the new work setup, but it's definitely more comfortable for me to paint the larger work. So I'll be adjusting it, and I'll be trying to stay out of your way. Yeah, so what I've done here is I'm toning in those background hills, and I had a little bit of a quandary there where I had the hill going in, the sky was darker than, and that would be something I'd call out if a student had brought me one of their paintings. So I did end up changing that and fixing that. You can pull that stuff off, but it needs to be done with intention. Yeah, so here a lot of what I'm doing is I'm running these tonal schemes. Like this is a mauve into gray scheme, you know, real solid browns, kind of with a. They're not as red as it might appear in this light you see, but yeah, you're getting a decent idea, you know. Anyway. The other thing that I'm working on is instead of just working straight on the hardboard, which, you know, frankly, peeking through at the smaller sizes hasn't been a thing. I use it as an additional color, you know, that little bit of brown. And it's not just one color, that's the thing. Lots of times I'll match that color and it's just, you know, it's not the same because that's flat. But I've got a couple boards where I've been going over them with oil paint and leftover oil paint, and I'm excited to work on that. I think that then I'll have little bits of oil paint peeking through, which I think will be enable my favorite process, which is the underpainting, and then just go in and work direct. The block-in method, you know, I'll be talking more about it next week because it don't make much sense to talk about right now. Although I really want to, since that's what I was doing today, you know. And painting is a very intellectual exercise. Yeah, painting is it's a very intellectual exercise. It's like intellectual gymnastics. I mean, you've got shape, color, texture, brush fracture, which is, you know, basically just how the brush strokes feel working against each other. If it's not, you can, like a lot of masters would totally diffuse the brush work, you know. Since the 1800s, it's more popular to have a bit of it showing. I like some of it showing, yeah. But so if you're leaving some of it showing, though, you've got to definitely have a sense of how it's one of the elements you've got to control. You know, I'm reminded of a lot of people don't think that drummers are very smart, but you have to be very smart to be a drummer. I think there's a lot, you know, that go on with the hi-hat and the snare and the kick, all going in different things at the same time, and sometimes, you know, not 1, 2, 3, 4 either. So. It's kind of like that with painting, although, you know, like with music, you just stick to 1, 2, 3, 4, or you can get real jiggy with things. I don't like to get too jiggy. Now, the other thing with this painting is I wanted to stick to like that tonal. I didn't want to go too high in the highlight areas, but I did come in and push that a little further. Also, this was the very first time I had this set up at all, so I have a little better lighting in the end of the video, I think. It's certainly more true, and that'll be so I basically here I'm just working hard to get everything filled in, but filled in an artistic way, you know. And my real brief with a lot of this larger stuff is I don't want to overwork it. I just want it to have that fresh feeling. Yeah, you can tell I'm coming in another day. And I think that color in the painting is a little truer. That's a real nice light I went out to the hardware store and bought. And also, yeah, you can see I got my beret on now, since you're constantly seeing the back of my big old head. Yeah, we got a minute or so on the end of this video. You know, studio lighting can be such a thing, and I just had a regular cheap fixture, but the bulb I put in it was about it was over $20. It was 1600 cool daylight. Now, a lot of bulbs that are labeled as cool daylight aren't as cool as you think, because and if you go to the lighting store, they say, "Oh, that's so harsh. You don't want to live in that." And you know, in your living room or like your bathroom, you don't want it. But for painting, you want to see the color as true as possible. And definitely, I work during the day, so it's actually a supplement to daylight. Also, the area I'm doing this painting in was basically like a walk-in area for people when they come into my studio, which I just took over. Now I took over half of it to do larger paintings. I have that board back behind. Basically, I blocked off a whole big chunk of the big sliding door window. You know. Anyway, yeah, definitely you want to look at your lighting. Make sure, and don't have it too amped up and bright, but it's better to have it. Oh, now you see I am going a little lighter with those highlight areas. And you know, when it comes to that, I always think about my trip to the Louvre, and I was so lucky to see the work of some great painters in real life, you know, the old guys, and like people like Corot and whatnot. And you know, a lot of times their paintings might be a little dark, but they always had an area where they'd pump it up a little. And I believe I'm going a little further in the maybe not in the water. I wanted kind of a subtle effect there. I didn't want to blast it out. But you can see in the little end clip there where it's been adjusted. That's always adjusted to reflect my experience painting it, and usually that same day. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed watching me put this together. I'm real happy with the painting, and less so with my recording of the video, but you know, at least it's been recorded and documented, and hopefully you got something from watching me put this painting together. Please leave me a comment, and support me in any other way you can if you're getting some value from this. Until I come back with another video for your edification and enjoyment, do me a favor, do me a solid. Take good care of yourself, your family, all your loved ones. Stay out of trouble, and God bless you and your family.